Hey, it's A Helmet Collector here, and today's video we're going to take a look at the 2-panel death card for Paul Autengruber. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So we have a nice large format photo of Paul here, and then moving down. In prayerful remembrance of the brave fighter Paul Autengruber from Vostomula, Obergefreiter in an infantry cavalry platoon, or Reiterzug, participant in several campaigns, bearer of the Iron Cross Second Class, the Eastern Front Medal, the Sudetenland Medal, and the Wound Badge, who died on May 14th, 1943, in a field hospital at the age of 28 after being seriously wounded. He was laid to rest in the Stalino Heroes Cemetery, honor his memory. So, I was actually able to find a casualty record for Paul. I'll pull that up on screen here. He was born on September 10th, 1915 in Leipzig, and was serving with the 2nd Company of Feldausbildungs Battalion 162 at the time of his death. Now, Feldausbildungs is a field education or field retraining unit. So at this point in the war, the Germans are taking soldiers and retraining them for frontline use. A lot of times these are guys that are in rear line roles that are now being pulled forward. But as we know here from Paul's card, he was actually serving in a Reiterzug, or a cavalry platoon. And we don't really think about cavalry too much during World War II, but it's important to remember that most of the German war machine is actually horse-drawn at this point. You know, all the propaganda footage is all of the tanks and the trucks and things, but a huge chunk of German logistics is still relying on horsepower, and there are still small units of cavalry that are attached to different parts of the army. Now, one might be tempted to think that this cavalry unit might have been from earlier in the war, maybe even pre-war. We know here that Paul has the Sudetenland Medal, meaning that he was in the military during the annexation of the Sudetenland, so you know, maybe this is an old unit, he was transferred somewhere else already, but per his casualty record, we can actually see the unit that he was in before he transferred to Feldausbildungs Battalion 162. And that unit is listed as the Reiterzug, or cavalry platoon, of Infantry Regiment 179. Now, what's interesting about Infantry Regiment 179 is they were originally part of the 57th Infantry Division, and were then transferred to the 62nd Infantry Division in February of 1942. And the unit that he's in now, this Feldausbildungs Unit 162, the 162 units are all of the subordinated units to Division 62. So, for example, the Nachrichten or Communications Unit, the Fusilier Battalion, the Pioneer Battalion of the 62nd Infantry Division are all Battalion 162. So, obviously, if the unit's transferring in February of 1942, he is now in the training unit of that division, and his previous unit was the cavalry, then he was in the cavalry on the Eastern Front, maybe even just a few weeks or months before he was transferred to this training unit for retraining. And there's a couple reasons that could be. It could be that they're phasing out the cavalry for, you know, obvious reasons. But for whatever reason, he's in this field retraining unit, and his injury's a bit odd. It's just listed as a through injury to the upper left thigh, so probably a gunshot or something similar, maybe shrapnel. But he ends up dying in Field Hospital 3-541 motorized at Stalino, which matches up with what's on the card here. Now, before we move on here, I do actually have one other card for a member of the 62nd Infantry Division. That would be Xavier Binder, who was a Gefreiter in the 5th Company of Infantry Regiment 179, and he was killed by a headshot at Lingovka, Russia on March 5th, 1942. And then moving to the back of the card here, we have a very nice HCOM 305 backing. We want to be free as our fathers were, rather die than live in slavery. So yeah, really interesting card. You don't see cards tied to cavalry outfits very often for obvious reasons, but also, you know, Paul here has been in the military since before World War II started, and he's seen, you know, his unit get absorbed into this new division. And, you know, we see him being transferred now from the cavalry into like an infantry kind of role. So yeah, overall, really interesting card. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment down below. Love hearing from you. Thank you all for watching. Happy collecting, and I'll see you all again very soon.